Please be seated. Throughout Advent here at Bethany Lutheran Church, we've been talking about the unexpected ways of God. And we're going to continue that theme into, as you've seen, our Christmas Eve experience. There's only one problem with the unexpected ways of God, the way we relate to it at Christmas Eve. And the problem is, I know exactly what to expect at Christmas Eve. I know exactly the story that's going to be told because I've read it so many times over so many years that I know exactly what to expect from the story. But it feels like every year I'm waiting for the story to be told the way I think it should be told, the way I want to expect it to be told. I want to have out in the middle, Pastor Nate open the Bible to Luke 2, and I would read there that Mary and Joseph made their way to Jerusalem, the city of kings. And in that place, Mary and Joseph were greeted by attendants who kind of lorded over them and catered to their every need. And then she gave birth to her firstborn son, and she wrapped him up in silk and fine linen and laid him in a bassinet made out of mahogany. That's what I think Christmas Eve should be about. It should be about all of that glory coming together for the birth of Christ. And I realize I want that so much. It's because that's what I expect. That's what I expect the glory of God to be doing for the world. That's what I expect the glory of God to be resounding that way. And instead, year after year after year, I get Bethlehem and a stable. And then after that, shepherds. The angels weren't singing to the crowds of the influencers and the well-to-do. The angels were singing to a group of shepherds out in a field where they actually were going to spend the entire night, as it would turn out. And I realize it takes a lot to be able to get into the unexpected, because I expect so much of God, and God delivers in such unexpected ways. I mean, by all standards, bringing this message to shepherds would have been one of the more unexpected occurrences in all of this. And I realize that I'm probably being called to be a shepherd at times, but I want to be a shepherd based on my own expectations. I want to shepherd a flock that is a congregation like Bethany Lutheran Church. It's my expectation not to be led by God, but that God would call me to lead. And I don't want to just lead sheep. I want to lead leaders. I want to be the person that is the powerful one, because I expect God to work through the powerful. And instead, God chooses to work through shepherds. And I realize that I am still called to be a shepherd for the people of Bethany. That's a way more metaphorical than, actually a shepherd. The good news is, you people of Bethany most days are actually less trouble than a collection of sheep that a real shepherd might have to take care of. But I still have to deal with those expectations. So on Christmas, it takes a lot of work to understand what in the world God was doing by bringing this message to shepherds. And so I realized we probably need to talk about shepherds a little bit, and I'm going to need some young people for this. So if you're a young person, come up and join me let's talk about shepherds for a few minutes. Yeah, come right on up, right up here. If you don't have a driver's license yet, then that makes you a young person. Come on up and join me here. You can just stand right in here with me. See, we're going to talk about shepherds. So I have a couple of questions about shepherds. Are shepherds super extravagant and they have very fine robes and they live in palaces? No. Shepherds are very simple people at times. Now, do shepherds have to be caring? Are they caring kind of people? Do you think? Yes? Why? Well, what do shepherds take care of? The sheep, yeah, the shepherds take care of the sheep, so they have to be caring people. They have to watch over sheep because sheep can be trouble sometimes. And so they have to be very caring to keep all those sheep together. And then if a shepherd was at, say, a stream of water a week ago and took all the sheep there so they could get a drink, and then they went out to a field, and a week later, the shepherd took the sheep back to that same stream, would the shepherd expect to find water? Yeah. Shepherds are very trusting people. They trust that God will provide for them. And then shepherds do something else, and we're going to hear it right at the end of the worship service, but I'm going to give you a little insight. After the shepherds were at the stable, they were with Mary and Joseph and the baby Jesus. On their way back, were they super quiet so that nobody would know what they just saw? No. What did they do? They told everyone, because shepherds are the people who just want to share good news over and over again. That's what it means to be a shepherd. You're kind of simple, but in a good way. You're really caring, you're trusting, and you share the good news of God. So what I realize is sometimes in my life, I need to live like a shepherd. So you're going to help me with that. I'm going to talk about some scenarios about how the way shepherds are in unexpected ways. And sometimes, about 5 or 6 times, I'll probably say, sometimes you just have to, and you're going to shout back to me, live like a shepherd. Okay, so that's your line. Live like a shepherd. And I'm going to lead you into it. We'll practice once right now. I'm going to say, sometimes you just have to. Yes, except, see, you can't say it just loud enough for me to hear. They all have to hear it too. Now, you're just be in your seat, so you're not going to be really on display, but you just have to shout it out. Okay, let's try it again. So sometimes you just have to live like a shepherd. Yes. And now here's the fun part. After you say it once, or when you get back to your seat, you're allowed to tap the person next to you, and then they have to join you. Okay, all of you heard that? It's a play-along game. All right, so if they tap you, even if they just look at you funny, you have to join in. That's how that'll work, so we make sure we're good and loud. Can you do that for me? Great, thanks. You head back to your seats and be ready, okay? See, shepherds start out, and the whole deal is that they're simple. And simple could happen in such unexpected ways. I know that, because it happened in my life just dealing with something as simple as chocolate. For 40 years of my life, I loved Hershey bars. I loved just having a Hershey bar and eating a Hershey bar. It was the most wonderful thing. I didn't get it daily. It was one of those extravagances that I just loved. And then one day in my 40s, somebody introduced me to those little Dove chocolate nugget things, right? And I had those. And then a couple of years later, somebody introduced me to those Ghirardelli squares, the dark chocolate sea salt with the caramel inside. Oh my goodness. And all of a sudden I realized the Hershey bar wasn't so extravagant anymore. And the simplicity of a Hershey bar didn't mean nearly to me what it did before I even knew about Dove and Ghirardelli. And if there's something beyond that, don't even bring it up to me, because I'm ruined enough as it is. Because sometimes we just want the simple. But now I realize so often I want the extravagant. I want to see what more is out there. And I wonder how much I miss, even on Christmas Eve, in this simple story, because I'm always ready to be more extravagant than that. And I realize that shepherds are so caring. And I know that as part of my call as a pastor, I'm called to be caring. I'm at those places. I'm in hospitals, and I have people visiting in my office, and I'm in their homes, and I'm there at baptisms, and I'm there at weddings, and I'm there at funerals, and I want to be a caring person through all of that. But I wonder sometimes if I'm so caught up in being the caring person of a pastor in my job at Bethany Lutheran Church that I miss the people around me who just need a simple word of caring, who just need a word to remind them that there's hope for them and there's peace for them, and that God's presence can really be with them. And I miss what it might feel like to just be a caring person and not get paid to be a caring person all the time, because I think I am, but sometimes I'm really not sure if I'm so caught up in what I have to do that I miss what God is just putting in front of me in unexpected ways. And I know what it's like to be a trusting person. For like the first 25 years of Karen and my married life, we lived paycheck to paycheck. Now, I wouldn't consider us poor at all in the midst of that, but we just didn't have more. We had to trust week to week, month to month, that there would be enough for us to do the things that we wanted to do. And I realize now that I'm a little bit older, I don't live paycheck to paycheck the way I used to. But I also realize I might not trust as much as I used to. And I wonder what I might miss about what God is doing, trying to call on me to just put more trust in God, because as I've got more, I've tended to just put more trust in myself. And I realize, you ready, kids? It's coming up. It's coming up, so just get ready to shout it out. I realize that sometimes you just have to live like a shepherd, because shepherds are the people who would enjoy the simple things in life. Shepherds are the people who would just care for the sheep and those around them, because sometimes you just have to live like a shepherd. And then we'll hear that the shepherds returned. And when they returned, this was a story that couldn't be contained. This was a story that had to be shared with the people around them. And again, I know what it's like. I'm called to be a preacher. I get to do this, several times a month, that I'm called to be the one that gets to proclaim and share. And yet I do it all the time in front of people like you. And I wonder when it is that God's putting that unexpected person in my path who just wants to hear that God loves them, who just wants to hear that Jesus is Lord. And I don't know if I always pay attention to that, because the next sermon that I get to preach here is running through my head. And I realize that sometimes you just have to live like a shepherd. Because I realize the story of Christmas was meant to be simple. I realize that the caring shepherd was the one who was first given the good news. I realize that for Mary and Joseph, the trust they had to put in God was immense, that everything would be okay, and that somehow this news would get shared with the world. That won't happen if I'm always looking for the next big thing. Sometimes I have to be on the lookout for the unexpected, because sometimes you just have to live like a shepherd. Because I do know this for sure. God is continuing to work in this world, and God is begging to continue to work through me. And many times, God is working in unexpected ways. Amen.